This is Northern Light for Wednesday, July 1st. Happy Canada Day. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, rising rent and the cost of living has been driving up homelessness in the North Country.
It was almost like a slingshot effect. As soon as COVID went away and some of those protections expired, all of a sudden, boom, now we got a whole bunch of people pushed into a homeless situation all at once.
Also on the show, a business owner in Alexandria Bay has turned a former motel into a seasonal worker housing to help boost the Thousand Islands tourism.
All the businesses are offering premium service so that we can continue to attract a really quality customer into the area.
And Chef Curtiss Hemm joins us this morning for a fresh recipe to spice up your summer.
All that's coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us. Support for Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio comes from Fort de la Presentation, presenting Skirmish on the Oswegatchie, a Revolutionary War battle reenactment featuring Continental and British forces on July 18th and 19th. More at fort1749.org. And from the Community Performance Series, presenting Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella Enchanted Edition on July 10th and July 16th through the 19th. At the SUNY Potsdam Performing Arts Center. Details at cpspotsdam.org. This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers are losing their health insurance today. It comes as a result of federal cuts that leave the state unable to continue offering its essential plan to residents. The essential plan is health insurance coverage for New Yorkers who earn too much to qualify for Medicaid, but too little to afford private insurance. Advocate Kelly Foster says the state needs to do more to help the estimated 450,000 New Yorkers who will be impacted.
As a New Yorker, a lifelong New Yorker, this is the most let down by my state government leaders that I have ever felt. And I implore the governor to find a fix for this consequential error.
The cut will affect people with incomes between 200 to 250% of the federal poverty level. That equates to annual income below close to $32,000 for a single person or $66,000 for a family of four.
The U.S. Supreme Court ruled yesterday that the Constitution upholds birthright citizenship for nearly all children born in the United States. As the New York Public News Network's Kimberly Izar reports, immigration advocates are breathing a sigh of relief.
Immigration advocates across New York State are celebrating a massive victory after the Supreme Court ruled to uphold birthright citizenship. Juana Cortez de Torres, Immigrant Legal Rights Director of immigration advocacy nonprofit Rural and Migrant Ministry, says the decision brings a sense of stability for thousands of immigrants and migrant families.
This shines a light on a very important principle, and it is basic. If you are born here in the United States, you are a citizen of this country.
Advocates have been bracing for the Supreme Court's decision after President Trump passed an executive order last January seeking to end birthright citizenship. Cortez de Torres says Tuesday's ruling reaffirms the 14th Amendment and the Constitution, but that America's immigration system is still in limbo. The Supreme Court ruled last Thursday that the Trump administration can begin mass deportations of TPS holders from Haiti and Syria.
Immigration is clearly in flux, and we will have to continue to really analyze and look to see what remedies exist for the many hundreds of people who are here within our borders. That's a heavy lift. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
Murad Awalda, president and CEO of the New York Immigration Coalition, said in a press statement that, quote, even as we breathe a sigh of relief, Congress must act to create a pathway to citizenship for all immigrants and strengthen the humanitarian protections that reflect our values, end quote. In Liberty, I'm Kimberly Izar for the New York Public News Network.
Yesterday, we heard about a program in New York's southern tier that is addressing rural homelessness. In the North Country, the unhoused population has been growing over the past several years, doubling in some counties since 2022. That's largely because of rising rents and the cost of living, which surged after the COVID-19 pandemic. As homelessness has become more visible, social service providers are trying new ways to help people find stable housing so they can rebuild their lives. Richard Haller reports.
57-year-old Stephen Charles Cadu isn't homeless anymore. He was laid off from a pizza restaurant in Potsdam after its indoor dining closed during COVID.
Finding a safe place in town to stay, which I ended up at a dealer's house. And I'm like, I might as well stay here. It's safer than dying on the street. And they let me do that.
At the dealer's place, he started using methamphetamine.
And I think I stayed there almost a year. Or less. I can't really remember, to tell you the truth, because I was using. And when you're using, my mind is not working the way it is now.
Now, Cadu's at the Seaway Valley Recovery Center in Ogdensburg. They help people struggling with drug and alcohol addiction. Cadu says living on the street became a cycle that felt impossible to break.
Because you're walking a lot, you're not showering every day like you should be. You're not taking care of your teeth every single day like you should be. You're just not living right because you're on the street.
33-year-old Brandon Lee Ashley is also turning his life around at Seaway Valley. He was homeless for 4 years and lost his housing after getting out of jail and couldn't afford a place to stay in Ogdensburg.
I went on a rough road. Nobody would hire me. I went into drugs, cocaine, or whatever, sleeping on a river bank and all of that, underneath logs or whatever, living like Tarzan.
Lee Ashley says Seaway Valley connected him to other programs. He now lives in an apartment and receives food stamps. For a long time, homelessness has looked different in the North Country compared to big cities. The homeless population remained mostly invisible, with people living with friends and family, couch surfing, living in the woods underneath bridges, away from the public eye. Jeff Rivensnyder is executive director at the Independent Living Center in Messina.
When you think of homelessness, you think of the metropolitan areas, in your face, shopping cart going down the sidewalk. It's different in the rural areas in terms of you don't see it. You don't really see it.
But that's changing. In places like Ogdensburg, Messina, Watertown, Gouverneur, Plattsburgh, and Glens Falls, a visible homeless population is emerging. Joseph Sieber has been the commissioner at the Department of Social Services in St. Lawrence County since 2020. He says during the pandemic, there were lots of supports for people on the edge, but then that disappeared.
So I think COVID really, not only did it suppress the economy, it created a situation that was almost like a slingshot effect. As soon as COVID went away and some of those protections expired, all of a sudden, boom, now we got a whole bunch of people pushed into a homeless situation all at once. And it exploded in the area in 2022.
According to Mountain Lake PBS, a large majority of those people are locals. Most hold at least one job. Sieber says the rising cost of living and more people facing mental health challenges and drug addiction are big factors.
On top of that, things are becoming more and more expensive. Housing costs have skyrocketed. So we're seeing more and more people becoming homeless or on the verge of becoming homeless that maybe were okay a while ago, but now that they're financially on the cusp of having to go that route.
Even though homelessness is becoming more visible, there are still a lot of people we don't see. Courtney Toms, the deputy director at the Independent Living Center in Messina, says that homelessness in the North Country is even higher than what the numbers show.
The unfortunate reality is HUD doesn't consider a couch surfing individual as homeless. They're not homeless if they slept somewhere the night before and had a shelter. They are homeless if they were somewhere the night before in a place not meant for human habitation. So a car, a bench, a park.
This makes assessing homelessness and getting federal funding for it difficult in rural areas like the North Country. HUD does a point-in-time study that counts unhoused people on a single day. Again, Living Center Director Jeff Rivensnyder.
On a cold day in February, they're laying on somebody's kitchen floor. You know, they're holed up in an abandoned building with a blanket. So to be able to count the actual numbers is a virtual impossibility on a single day.
Over the last year, cuts to social safety net programs like Medicaid, SNAP, and Social Security Disability are making matters worse. So, social service providers are having to do more to help people. Joseph Sieber says St. Lawrence County created a caseworker unit that supports people after they've been placed in housing.
One of the first things that we did here that I started was a homeless services unit, which hadn't existed before, to try and not just get people off the street and put them in a hotel room when it's cold out, but to try and do some case management and work with people to help them get back on track.
Sieber says it's working. In 2022, the number of people placed in temporary housing was triple that of this year. Now, more people get things like counseling and transportation to help them find permanent housing. Jessie Martin is a recovery coach at Seaway Valley. She says people just need help.
I have one client. I think we started meeting 4 years ago, and it started, honestly, not with a ton of productive paperwork. It was him coming in for 10 minutes for coffee, and then eventually it got to where he was coming in every single day and staying for the whole day. Now he has housing, he's in recovery, the whole thing. But that takes time. You have to be persistent and meet with these people and build the relationships and not give up on them.
It'll take thousands of those one-on-one interactions to help more people get their lives back on track. Martin says temporary help alone isn't enough. Lasting support matters, not just while people are homeless, but after they begin rebuilding their lives. For North Country Public Radio, I'm Richard Haller in Canton.
This is NCPR.
You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's 8:14. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Stick around. Chef Curtiss Hemm gives us a recipe for a quick salad, perfect for these hot summer days.
That's coming up in just a few minutes here on Northern Light, which is supported by the Northern New York Community Foundation, serving Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence counties since 1929, helping donors fulfill their charitable giving goals to forever strengthen the places they love. Online at nnycf.org. And from Mountain Orthotic and Prosthetic Services, a full-service practice providing care for patients of all ages, with offices in Lake Placid, Plattsburgh, Malone, and Burlington. Online at mountainonp.com. Music from Michael Hart and Ramon Vasquez out of Malone. Northern Light is supported by the North Country Children's Museum, Potsdam, now featuring a second floor of hands-on and minds-on exhibits and programs for children 12 and under. Open Wednesday to Sunday, northcountrychildrensmuseum.org.
Extreme heat is hitting the North Country this week. Environmental advocates are highlighting a bill that would require state health officials to track heat-related deaths. Caroline Chen is with New York Lawyers for the Public Interest. She says a state mandate would mirror reporting requirements in New York City.
At the state level, Department of Health has a heat risk and illness dashboard, and that is to allow us to understand the level of heat-related health risks in respective areas across the state. There's no accounting that, as far as we know, that's publicly available, counting the number of deaths, whether it's heat stress or heat-exacerbated deaths at the New York State level.
Chen says the tracker would help inform mitigation efforts such as the deployment of air conditioners. The legislation was approved during the 2026 legislative session. Governor Kathy Hochul has until the end of the year to act on it.
Trump administration officials, including the U.S. Agriculture Secretary and the EPA administrator, are questioning the conversion of farmland in New York into solar projects. Samuel King with the New York Public News Network reports they're seeking answers from the state within 30 days.
The letter accuses New York State of violating USDA standards for prime farmland when approving sites for large-scale solar projects. The officials want information on all solar projects approved by the state's Office of Renewable Energy Siting and Electric Transmission. The office, known as ORES, has been a frequent target of the Republican candidate for governor, Bruce Blakeman, and GOP candidates running for the New York legislature. The governor's office says development is, quote, occurring only on land that is willingly leased by landowners, and that the Trump administration is trying to deflect from its own record on energy and protecting farmers. The Solar Energy Industries Association says only less than 1% of USDA farmland in New York is being used for solar projects. In Albany, I'm Samuel King for the New York Public News Network.
A business owner in Alexandria Bay bought a property that used to be a motel. Now he's turning it into a seasonal housing for workers to help boost the Thousand Islands tourism economy. NCPR News intern Iram Twana Chiefchi reports.
Gorem Shawasti owns Summerland Yacht Sales. He says the former motel is right next to his yacht business. After his purchase last December, he changed the motel's name from Applewood Inn to Crew Quarters.
So on a yacht, where we put the staff, we call them crew, we put them in crew quarters. So we're like, oh, wait, this already ties into, kind of what we are.
Shavusti says he didn't have time to run a motel, but he knew many business owners in the area struggled to find workers. So he decided to turn the motel into housing for seasonal workers.
Where all the businesses are offering premium service so that we can continue to attract a really quality customer into the area.
Shabusti says he'll collaborate with employers in town to fill the rooms. He says he wants this place to become a communal area where workers can hang out and enjoy a living space.
From the sounds of it, back in the 80s, there was a few places in the area that did something similar. And everyone who stayed there was like, oh my gosh, it was so much fun because we'd all get done work, or like we'd all be like off Tuesday. So we'd play volleyball, or we'd go hang out together and all that sort of stuff.
Shawasti says he'll make about $100,000 worth of renovations to make the motel more livable, including a fireplace, on-site laundry, and a playground. The total housing capacity will be 20 rooms after the renovations. However, the crew quarters already started renting rooms for workers. For NCPR, I'm Ramchana Chifchi.
Some of the North Country's airports will share more than $4.5 million in federal funding. The grants will be used to improve airfield safety and upgrade taxiways and facilities at the airports in Potsdam, Watertown, Malone, and Ticonderoga. They all received awards ranging from $235,000 to $2 million. The Potsdam Airport will use the funding to reconstruct its terminal, and the Watertown Airport will replace snow removal equipment and remove obstructions around the airfield.
And in North Country baseball, the North Country Thunderbirds fell to the Malone Border Hounds 0-7 yesterday. They face off again today at 5 o'clock at Veterans Field in Malone. And the Tupper Lake River Pigs play the Saranac Surge this afternoon at Petrova Field. First pitch is at 1 o'clock. This is NCPR.
You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's 8:21. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Stick around after the show for Bird Note. That's coming up at 8:42. With our eyes to the skies, sunset in North Hudson is at 8:41 tonight, and the moon is a waning gibbous at 97% of full.
It's another hot day today. The entire North Country has been issued extreme heat advisories or warnings from the National Weather Service. Temperatures in southern Ontario are expected to reach into the mid-30s. Here in the North Country, heat indices will be in the 100s throughout the area. Make sure to check on older adults, your neighbors who are living alone, or other folks who are at risk. Make sure to drink water often, even before you feel thirsty. And if your home or apartment is hot, move to a cool public space like a community center or a cooling center or a library or even a shaded area in a park. We can expect mostly dry conditions today, too. The heat advisories are in effect from noon today until 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. At last check, it was 79 degrees in Fort Drum, 70 degrees in Saranac Lake, 76 in Plattsburgh, 22 degrees right now in Brockville.
Well, it's almost too hot to eat, but not if you can find something refreshing to help get us through these steamy summer days. Luckily, Chef Curtiss Hemm has just the thing. Hemm is the executive chef at the View Restaurant at the Lake Placid and the founder of the Carriage House Cooking School in Peru. He joins us every month to share a seasonal recipe using as many local ingredients as possible. Good morning, Curtiss.
Good morning.
So this morning, you bring us elote, or a corn salad, right?
I do. So anyone who's familiar with elote knows that it's a cob corn, and it's coated in mayonnaise, cojita or queso fresco cheese, spices, and citrus. I am one who's a little bit modest. I don't like to eat corn on the cob, and I don't like to eat chicken wings in public. So this is something that I kind of came up with as a way to get all the flavors of elotes and do it in a way that is fun and not I don't know, just how you eat and chicken wings. It's a little bit more civil. So and I wanted it somewhat of a dip that could use. You know, there's a lot of potlucks in the summertime. There's also a lot of heat, which we're experiencing, and this is a quick way to cook something without really cooking it. So.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick recipe, too, to kind of throw together with things that you could find at a farmer's market around the area or like the grocery store, too.
Yeah, so I chose corn. Corn's not ready. It's the local corn isn't ready yet, but it's coming. And so this is kind of like a foreshadowing recipe for what you can do with local corn. I happen to be a very big fan of Silver Queen and the silver varieties and the shoe peg corns versus those really large yellow kernels. So this is great with those. And it's simple. It's a one-step recipe. We call this in the professional world a combined salad or a compound salad where everything goes in a bowl and it's mixed together. And then it's dressed lightly as it's presented.
And how do you like to eat this? Would you do it with like chips or a salad or with a protein?
Yeah, I like it with corn chips. So I like making my own corn chips either in the oven, in the air fryer, or there's so many good brands of corn chips out there that you can buy. Forget the name of it. Eric Gunther at Adventure in Foods had sent me up a couple bags. Really great hearty corn chip I like with that. But I also think you can use this kind of dip or salad on top of grilled ribeye. You could do it on top of a grilled fish or an oven roasted fish or even just poached shrimp. It goes great with poached shrimp as kind of toss the poached shrimp in that salad. It's great.
So I know that when you're working with corn on the cob, it can get a little tricky for some people that might be intimidated with knife skills. How do you get corn off the cob, and what do you recommend?
So there are many tools that you can use. I use a chef knife. So I cut the corn cob in half, and then I put the flat cut side down, and then I just hold it very carefully, and I glide my knife down, and it's hard to do it on the radio, but don't push down on a knife blade ever. You need to slice. A knife needs to slice into something. So it needs to be at an angle and it needs to be moving forwards or backwards in order for it to cut. Even dull knives will cut that way. But even if the sharpest knife, if you're just going to push straight down, like if this is the cob and you push down, you're not going to get a clean cut. It's going to want to go into the cob and you're going to end up pulling kernels out of that. And it's going to be very unsafe. So you need to have a knife in motion. And when I teach, I always tell people to look at my cutting board and how much real estate my knife takes up. And you can see all the marks. There's this 45-degree diagonal cut line on my cutting board. And that's what I call real estate. And that's what my knife is designed to use. That's how it functions.
Well, and can you go ahead and walk us through the recipe?
Sure. The recipe is really simple. It's corn kernels. I happen to like jalapeno, but I also like serrano. So you could use either of those. Seeded and diced, and those are just kind of chopped. Mayonnaise. I'm a Hellmann's person, not a Duke's. I'm a Hellmann's, and I certainly don't use Miracle Whip. So I'm certainly in the Hellmann's category, or homemade. Some sour cream, because I like the fermented flavor of sour cream. Really finely diced red onion. If you want to take some of the pungency off of the red onion, you could rinse that in cold water really quick and then drain it. That gets rid of some of that sulfur and some of the heat. Chop fresh cilantro leaves and chili powder. You put that in a bowl and you mix it up really quick. And then you put it on a platter, and you'll see it in the picture once it's up online. And then you sprinkle cojita cheese, and you serve it with lime wedges and maybe a little dash of chili powder on top of that. It's really simple. And for those who aren't familiar, cojita is an aged cow's milk cheese. Some of it's fresh. Cojita, queso anejo, is aged cojita, and that is like Parmesan. So it takes the presence and flavor of Parmesan. So if you want something sharper, you can use queso anejo. If you want something fresher and creamier, you could use cojita. And neither of those melt when they're cooked.
Mm-hmm. And this sounds something that it could sit well in the fridge. Like you could make a big batch of it and have it kind of throughout the week, right?
Yeah, the corn will give off some of the moisture, so you just have to kind of stir it up again. But that's the only downside of that.
And do you know any good places to get local sour cream?
I don't, honestly. That was a great question. You stumped me.
Wow. But tell us about some of the corn varieties that you're finding in the North Country right now, or not right now, but soon to be in farmers markets.
Yeah, sure. So Northern Orchards, right down, they're just like 2 miles from me. They have Silver Queen, which I've just grown to love ever since I was a kid and we moved here. And my father started growing white corn. There's Silver Queen, which is my favorite. There's a bicolor corn, which is a white and yellow corn. I don't know the name of that. I really don't know a lot of my varietals. But I can tell you there's 2 products that I keep on hand. I keep frozen corn kernels in my freezer and frozen peas. And I keep the shoot peg corn in my freezer, as well as, and people laugh at me, but when I do a pizza class, I always pull out a can of white shoot peg corn, drain it, rinse it. And people are amazed at the flavor of that. So as much as I like local's available for a period of time. And if you don't put up your food, then you don't have it. So those are a couple staple grocery store people or products for people.
Sounds really delicious. Thanks for bringing us this recipe. Chef Curtiss Hemm is the executive chef at the View Restaurant in Lake Placid and the founder of the Carriage House Cooking School in Peru. He joins us every month to share a seasonal recipe using as many local ingredients as possible. Thanks, Curtiss.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
That's it for the show. News headlines from NPR are next. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Be well.